Howdy, and welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Rodell. Of course, we're happy to have you along on today. Another edition. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, which is the Rodell Lewis channel, along with the taste of tradition.com. Got a special guest with us this afternoon, of course, as we try to bring to you some interesting guests always to make it interesting and get that real side of things of what's going on in them. His name is Forrest Tuff. Forrest Tuff. Remember that name. Forrest is an award-winning author, entrepreneur, film producer, a leader, a master life coach, and keynote speaker. He is the CEO and founder of One Vision Productions, a media and branding agency voted best of Georgia and one of Atlanta's best and brightest companies to work for. He is a master certified motivational and accredited speaker, recognized among Georgia's most influential leaders and the top 5 CEOs to watch in 2024 by CIO Times. Welcome to the show, Forrest. How you feeling, man?
Man, feeling good, Rodell in the ATL, man. Glad to be here.
Man, you have such an extensive career, Forrest. I want to go back and ask, first of all, did you envision where you are today as a kid as to what your dream would be later in life? Did you envision this?
I'll be honest with you, Rodell. I thought I was going to the NBA. I had that tunnel vision. Yeah, I played collegiate ball, Division I. I thought that was my future. That's as far as I saw it, to be honest with you.
Basketball.
Yeah, man, basketball.
So who's your favorite team?
Well, of course it was the Hawks, 21, Dominique Wilkins. That was the number I played all the way from Gresham Park up until I went to Western Carolina University. And I had a fatal injury to my shooting hand. And so that ended my career, man. And I'll say this. When I said I had NBA dreams, I'm actually in the Collegiate Hall of Fame. So I wasn't just random dreams. I actually was put in the College Hall of Fame, man, as an all-time leading scorer at Gordon State. And my roommate ended up getting drafted by the Lakers. So that dream was right there, but, dream deferred. So that kind of helped me to transfer my thoughts and try to look at what's next.
We could continue with this conversation now because you did mention the Lakers. Go Lakers! I'm a diehard Laker fan. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But that's good to know, man. Because I see a lot of times I like to hear those kind of stories because people don't know that even though you're here now, but where you started and what was your dream in the beginning. See, no one would have never known with all the accolades that I just mentioned of you, that you really wanted to be an NBA basketball player.
That's it. It's interesting, when you grow up and you have a set of friends that knew you when you were this other person, you're the same person, but when you had these other dreams, and now you have a new set of colleagues that know this other side. So it is very interesting because a lot of my friends that knew me when I played sports and was really into the entertainment scene, they laugh and they say, man, look at you. What do you want to run for president next? But it's interesting to grow. I just like growing and trying to get to new places.
What motivates you, even though the dream didn't come alive as being an NBA player, what motivates you to really continue and try and find another avenue or navigate to another career?
I think for me, man, it was just the fear of failure. And I think that stemmed from, having played sports so long, you're always told when you fail, get back up. And so it was a scary place when I didn't play sports, and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know what it is that I want to do because I had no other real interest. I went and had an internship at Health South Orthopedic Clinic. I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer, but I realized I didn't want to do that. It just was in the realm of sports. And so that was just a scary place. And I think the motivation came from not wanting to just fail and just give up.
Yeah. So what do you say to people then that, they get to that crossroad in their life and be like, you know what? Away with it, man. I'm done. What do you say to people then? And how did you conquer getting past that crossroad?
If I'm gonna be transparent, there are times when I really just thought, man, I'm not gonna make it. You think that But you have to actually talk to yourself. You got to talk yourself out of this stuff, because there's nothing wrong with having the thoughts. But the problem is if you dwell on it and start to speak it out your mouth and give it life. So I always say, even though you have these thoughts, you have to speak what you want to be to yourself. You got to tell yourself something else, because otherwise those things can take hold and can start to take you to dark places. So I would just encourage you, even when you're feeling that way, because it's going to happen. It can happen. That's a real place. You have to just start to speak what you want and say it and make it continuous until it actually starts to manifest or you start to believe it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the scripture where it says, speak those things into existence, speak as though it were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, moving from the career change, then of course, award-winning author, entrepreneur. What excited you about the camera itself, Forrest? What excited you about that particular, the camera itself?
So what happened is after this transition, I worked in retail sales for a minute, and then I went back to the church. I started working in the family business because my father was a longtime pastor here, and so I was working with the church and the family. And here is where I started to find myself tinkering around with new things, because I started to edit the radio station for my dad, and I wanted to do something on the 21st anniversary. So I started making this anniversary video of all this footage that we had filmed over the years. And it was just something to do. But I think when I was doing that, I actually found my passion again.
Yeah.
Just getting behind that camera, telling stories. And I realized I love telling stories, because even through high school, when I played sports, I always had a camcorder. I was always recording, whether I was going to parties or just events. I was always recording this stuff because my mom had the camcorder. And as I got older, I just kept doing it. So I think that was something that it was interesting. I found my new passion, man, going back to the church, working out, helping my family business. And I was able to find myself renewed and find a new passion that kind of started me on this journey to get where I am today.
So was there any people or any person that came along to encourage you during this time of transitioning to where you are now, or was it self-motivation? Totally.
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I was self-motivated, but I had family members. I had my mom and dad, and they believed in what I wanted to do. They didn't know what I wanted to do because I'm telling them about it. It was so out of the lane of what I was doing. But when I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to start this business and I'm just going to go for it. They were like, well, we believe you can do it. But at that point, it was really up to me to try to figure out how to make this thing work. So I had to study. I didn't have the finances to go to school. So I had to just learn through hard knocks, trial and error. Yeah. And I had a friend of mine that one of their coworkers had a birthday party, and they had asked me, hey, how much would you charge to record this birthday party? And that's when the light went on. That was in 2004. And that's when I actually started the video production business. I started out doing a birthday party and just kept it going from there.
So now let's talk about this title, Brand Strategy Expert. Can you tell people, can you break that down for us as to what does that mean specifically, Brand Strategy Expert? What is that?
So a brand strategy expert, as I see it, is a person that can help you identify what are your strengths that you can actually monetize. Not just the things that you like, but what can you take about yourself and monetize it? Because that's what makes the strategy important, is to take that brand and to have companies and people to want to buy into that. So for me, in the case of what I've done, this brand strategy expert came over a period of years, over 20 years. I found myself, I wrote a book. I was able to sell it to the school systems. So that gave me an inside knowledge on how to be a successful author. I actually got into the production business, and I've had, fortunately, starting from ground roots to actually working with Fortune 100 corporations and government agencies. So that experience, that allows me to talk to people in that entrepreneurial space. And, also as a speaker and a coach, having achieved a certain level of status and being one of the, I think within Toastmasters, there's something called an accredited speaker. There are only 93 in the world, and I am one of them. Mm-hmm. And so to be a professional speaker in that lane, I'm able to share my experiences on how to take something that I considered a gift or a skill set, but actually monetize it. So that's where I came into the brand strategy expert, is to show you how to monetize your gift and make money in it, not just be something you enjoy doing.
Can anybody be an accredited speaker, or does it take a special talent for that?
No, it does take a special talent. It takes some criteria. It takes you being able to run a business and get paid to speak, because in order to become an accredited speaker, you have to be a paid professional speaker. And in doing that, you have to actually show the organization that you've done this. There's a rigorous program. And once you do it, you have to actually compete at international competition. They have this international competition at the end, and you're not competing against anyone. You're just being judged by other professional speakers. And really the bottom line is, if they say, we grade you on the fact that we will hire you to come speak for our corporation. So that's what it is. And within Toastmasters, there are roughly 300,000 members worldwide. And within that organization, only 93 have been able to become accredited speakers.
And out of those, how many blacks are involved with that?
Well, currently right now, I think there are only 2.
Okay.
There's 1 female and myself. One of the gentlemen who was an accredited speaker first, he just passed. So I think there's only 2 now, 1 female and 1 male, which would be me.
Wow. And what's a master life coach? What is that?
So a master life coach, there's some certifications that I had to take in order to become a master life coach. I had to take coaching certifications in entrepreneurship, in business startup, also in life coaching and purpose coaching. So after fulfilling these certain certifications, there are a series of certifications that you had to pass and do field work. And once I passed those certifications, I actually became a master life coach. And with that, I don't know if you're familiar with the organization called SCORE, but it's a program through the SBA, and they help mentor small business owners or just business owners to help them either start a business or keep it afloat. Well, I was a mentor for 8 years. And so I've worked with hundreds, if not 1,000 businesses throughout Georgia and the US to help them, start or sustain their businesses. And I did that before I even became a master life coach. And so I've been a master life coach now for 5 years, but I actually was a certified business mentor for 8 years.
Wow. Does it take a special eye to be a film producer? Does it take a special eye? Because let me just say this, people. I've had the opportunity to work with Forrest on a couple of occasions, and I was just doing what I know to do, which is just interview folk. I know how to interview. If I can't do nothing else, I can do that. And so I actually called Forrest one day and told him what I envisioned doing. He had the equipment, and basically we went to work at doing what we do. Went to some events and got backstage, got all the credentials to get backstage to interview the artist, and then of course once he captured the interviews, he would then edit those for a TV show. My question is then, for those that are watching that maybe want to be a film producer one day or have the desire to get into that art form, does it take a special eye to be a film producer?
I think you have to be able to tell a story. But I will also say this, I always teach this also. When we talk about film, it's the film business. So if you want to be in that realm, you got to also understand there's the creative aspect and then there's the business aspect. So for me, in order to be a successful film producer, a lot of times when you're working with other people, you're not always putting your vision first. Now, that's great if you're going to foot the bill, but in the instance of when we worked on your TV show, I had to make sure that I brought my creativity, but I had to follow the guidelines that you wanted for your show. I couldn't take over the show and say, well, I think it should look this way, Rodell, and that's the part of the business is when you're working with people, you have to be able to form a relationship to where that person feels like, I really appreciate what you did, but they still have their stamp because it was the Rodell Lewis show, not the Forrest Tuff show. So we had to make sure that your stamp was on it, but I had to make you look as good as possible and as polished as possible. So I would say if you want to get into any type of production and you want to be successful, you have to learn how to work with people. You have to learn how to listen. No matter how good you are at what you do, you have to be able to understand the client's needs and put that before your creativity.
Have there been some people in the past that you've worked with that was what? Let's just keep it real. That was very, very difficult to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you have some people, no matter what you say, they want to do it a certain way. And there have been times where I had to turn down jobs. Honestly, I don't feel like I don't take every job. It has to be a certain type of synergy to work together. And that doesn't mean we have to always get along. I've worked in situations where, we had some back and forth, but we were both working for the betterment of the project. And it wasn't just a power struggle about doing it a certain way, because at the end of the day, also, it's my name on the project. So if I put out something that look crazy, people are going to say, hey, that's your work. So I'm very careful about, who I work with in terms of they have to have a certain level of wanting something. And I think, as you grow in your business, you can become a little more selective in the type of clientele you like to work with. So I think that's something that came over time. I didn't just start that way, but, over time, I started to really kind of vet the people and interview them also. It wasn't just a money grab for me. I don't just want to take the job just because. It's more of I think this is going to be a good fit, not only for myself, but I think I would love to work with you to produce what you're doing.
I guess it's like the old cliche is all money ain't good money.
Good money. It's not, man. But it's hard sometimes when those bills are coming. It's hard sometimes when that money is. You're like, I got to take this one. Got to take it.
You got to leave that money on the table.
Sometimes you do.
And so okay, so then it takes I guess there's a certain kind of characteristics of a leader, characteristics of a film producer, characteristic of a master life coach. What is that main characteristic that Forrest draws from?
I would say I think it's integrity in what you do. I'll be honest with you, man. Rodale, growing up watching my parents was a big inspiration for me because, growing up with your family in the church, when I got old enough, I wanted to find out what else was going on in the world. So I did everything else. I went out and had a good time. I partied like, my roommate got drafted by the Lakers, man. I was living a really fun lifestyle, because I wanted to know what life was about. And so there are so many experiences I had, but even in doing that, there was always this thing that had been instilled in me, and it's about integrity. So whatever I do and when I work with people, I always try to have that certain level of integrity. If I say I'm going to do something, then that's my word. I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to worry about the money. If I say I'm doing something and I've agreed to a certain amount, I'm not coming back renegotiating. I'm going to finish that. And then we're going to, maybe go back to the table. So I think even when I'm working with clients and coaching people and teaching them how to lead and work with other people, the thing that I like to teach them is, man, you have to be a person of your word, because people look to you in that leadership capacity to see how you're moving. And if you're a person that, is wishy-washy, you go to and fro, they'll read that.
Yeah.
So you got to stand by what you say. And I think that will be the main staple of whatever I do, whether it be projects, films, speaking. It's all about having a purpose in what you're doing and standing on business.
Let's go back to as I titled it, brand strategy expert again.
Yeah.
I see where you trademarked filmpreneur. How important is it also to brand yourself or even trademark the things that you do when it comes to the business side of things? A lot of times people get caught up in the hype, or they get caught up in being on stage.
Yeah.
But how important is it to also handle your business side?
Man, I think the business is the lifeblood of it all. I mean, at the end of the day, you can have a great idea, but if you put it out there, it blows up and somebody else owns it, then you've lost everything. So I'm always a person that tries to get to the business first before it's known, before it's something that people are thinking about, because you never know what's going to jump off. It could be crazy, but the next minute it's like this makes sense. I mean, who would have thought Google would have been the most important thing about the internet? That doesn't even make sense. Google, yeah, they like, man, that's crazy. But they owned it. And so when it took off, you didn't have to backtrack. So I look at filmpreneur, that's my stance on being a creative person, but also being a person about your business. And so when I trademarked it, I wanted to make sure that I found my niche in the film industry, because I'm not a traditional film person. I may not have all the connects of a lot of people, but, I'm putting my own projects out. I'm getting hired by other companies. And so now I'm starting to get recognized for my brand because it's something that stands alone. It's like, what is a filmpreneur? It sounds good. It's in the film industry and it's got that entrepreneurship, but I actually own it. So you can't use it. And that makes a big difference when, if you want to start branching off into other areas like selling material and copyright projects with that name. So I think it's important to handle that business first and let the creativity roll after that.
So let's talk about you being an avid volunteer and philanthropist. How important is it to volunteer, or what programs do you volunteer to work with that's important to you?
Yeah, so starting out, growing up, I was doing missions work, man, out in Mexico. Helping to establish schools with my family's business, and that just kind of stuck with me. And so I do a lot of work with youth. Like I say, I was a mentor for SCORE for 8 years, but I also work with 3DE by Junior Achievement. We mentor young entrepreneurs in high school, and I work with a lot of different programs. I mean, a lot of different programs in the city and also nationally, just giving them my expertise or just my time, and there's also, I started a Pay It Forward program in 2015 because I recognized a lot of nonprofits, especially local nonprofits, didn't have access to funding for their programs. So we started giving this grant, every year to a nonprofit to help them when they're trying to initiate programs in the community. So I think it's important not only to give them my time and give back, but also to financially help some of these organizations that really would love to do something. They just don't have the means to get the finances to do it.
I hear this by not only musicians, artists alike, painters, professionals. When you have to know or have a discerning as to how much volunteering you do, because your craft is what makes you money. And so I guess my question is, how do you go about navigating as to who to volunteer for? And then if a project comes to you, you be like, okay, you need to pay for this one because it's going to take some work to do this one. How do you navigate that? I guess my question is.
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that, Rotel, because there's two types of volunteerism that I want to share with people. There's the volunteerism where you're giving, and then there's the volunteerism where you're being strategic. So strategic volunteerism is where you want something out of working with an organization. And there are organizations that I work with, and I talk to them up front. I let them know, hey, listen, I know this could be a benefit to your organization, but here's some things that I would like from you. And so in that situation, if you're being upfront, there are times where you work for a cause, and there are times where you work to create opportunities. And I'll give you a case in point. There was a producer who works in the film industry, and she was producing her own feature film. And one of the bigger budgets in a film is editing. And so I talked with her and I told her, I said, I tell you what, I'll edit this film and I'll do it pro bono. But here's what I want. I want you to treat me just like I'm working in the film industry. Don't cut breaks. Because we want this to be top notch. I said, but if an opportunity comes to get me in front of somebody, make sure you put my name out. And so I did this. I worked with this person for free, like I was getting paid. We had a great, successful project. She was actually named Filmmaker of the Year at the Peachtree International Film Festival. Well, she was working on the film as a producer on the film The Hate You Give. Do you remember that one? By 20th Century Fox? Yeah. So they needed someone to coach the lead actresses. And so she knew that I used to be, once again, that old school college basketball. I used to train. So She said, hey, listen, we're looking for a basketball trainer. I know it's out of the realm. I said, listen, does it pay? I said, am I getting a check from 20th Century? Listen, I sent in my information. She put me in, man, and hey, listen, I got picked up by 20th Century Fox for a major motion picture, independent, One Vision Productions. And that is what I call strategic volunteerism, because I had a goal in mind, and it worked for my business. It boosted my business. It boosted my credibility, but I did it with a purpose. So I would say if you're going to volunteer, you got to know when to leverage volunteerism for your business and when to just give back.
Yeah, because and you know what, you kind of know, as you say, as you're going into the project, and you're having conversations, you're having those meetings, you kind of know in the direction that they're going to take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the conversation warrants as to, okay, I know how to approach this with this person or this company or whatever. And as you said, if it's an opportunity where you can do more, or they can offer you something down the road, that's fine, because there are opportunities where, yeah, you may have to do it voluntarily, pro no bono, as you said.
Right.
But people need to understand that even though I have a craft that you're requiring of me, or a gift that you're soliciting to me to come and do, like for instance, if I host an event,
Right.
There'll be some times where, okay, I'm going to volunteer my services because I see you trying to get off the ground with this project. But down the road, as it goes, understand that, it would be nice if you to call me back, and I can, even help you even more the next time around.
That's
In
right.
other words, consider me for something down the road, if not now, where we have, I call it, you know what I call it? I just call it having great relationships, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rodell. You just said it. We're in the business of people. That
Yeah.
never changes, man. People is everything. You know what I mean? Like I have a great relationship with you just from when we worked. We had a smooth concept of getting it done. And once we got our system, we didn't have to talk about everything. We knew what we were doing. You was like, hey, you know what to do, Tuff. I said, yeah, I got you, Rodell. And we just moved on from there. So, it really is, like you say, man, it's about relationships and being in the business of people, man.
Yeah, people need to understand that relationships are more valuable even sometimes than the money you make. But they don't get to that part because you have this generation now where they want everything quick, fast, in a hurry. They want it microwave style.
That's right.
They don't want to study. They don't want to do the research. They want to really get into this right now. They got a little camera. And they feel like, okay, I can do this project, but you haven't really studied your craft.
That's right.
So,
and look, some there are a few that pull it off, and it makes the masses think that's the norm. But there are always exceptions to every rule, and we see the exceptions, but that still isn't the norm. Sometimes you hear people, they 20, 15-year overnight success, right? Because you putting in your work, you building these relationships, and then finally it hits. And now I'm like, man, you just happened overnight. You're like, well, no, this has been a long journey. But like you say, you building relationship with the right people, and when that opportunity comes, they can put you in the right place. But I totally agree with you. It's a lot different, and sometimes, just having to change, and not really change, but having to evolve to see how this industry works and stay relevant is also an interesting journey.
Yeah. So now let's get back to this brand strategy expert again, because that's a quality title. First of all, that's what I look at. That's a quality title. But I wanted to ask you something out the box. Like for instance, let me give you an example.
Okay.
I seem to like different presentations on television. Like for instance, I think about a week ago they had the Country Music Awards Festival in Nashville. I love country music, first of all. I love it. Even though people think when they see what they're all about gospel, but trust me, I love other genres of music.
Yeah.
I saw the production of it, Forrest. I saw the production of it, how the quality sound they presented on television,
Right.
How the precision and the preciseness of everything just followed the host and all came together. Sunday night they had the BET Awards. I watched that. Even though there were a lot of artists I didn't know quite well, but I was, the fact that they were doing something for our culture, I sit there and watch that kind of stuff. Do you get into that kind of thing as a not only a brand strategy expert, but do you get into that as a film producer to say, you know what, I could probably do that same thing on that scale, or have you done it? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I think for me it is choosing the lane that I want to be in. I think there are a lot of different opportunities that I've had, but once again, every opportunity sometimes it may compromise your ethical. So that's where it comes into play sometimes, where you have to make decisions about, are you willing to do this?
Yeah.
And it may put you in a place where you're not comfortable, and you have to decide, is this where you want to go? And I think sometimes that compromise can also lead you into quicker wealth, but also can put you in some areas you don't want to be in.
I got you.
And so I've made the resolve that I'm at a place where I have a certain level of contentment. And the majority of my work is really working with federal government. I stay in that space because for me, that's a place that's comfortable working, with these federal agencies and doing the production. It may not be so much more in entertainment, but it puts me at a certain price point that I'm very comfortable with. And so it allows me to actually have the freedom to choose what I want to do in the film world. And that for me is the freedom that I enjoy. I actually love making projects. And so I don't know if I want to be too, I don't want to get too much into politics with my creativity right now on that level. I deal with a lot of the politics in that government space, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to my creative space, sometimes I want to be in that position where I'm calling the shots, and that's just where I am. But I'm also willing to put my money up to do it.
No, that makes sense because, and it's good you say that because you mentioned a couple of words that come to mind. You're content, first of all, and you even mentioned some earlier when you talked about integrity. Those kinds of things have you place yourself in position as to what you want to do, and just what you're just not interested in being a part of, and that's okay. I even want our listeners to know that, viewers to know that it's okay if you're not a part of this particular crowd or category, but the fact of it is you are content with what you're doing. And speak volume to just that alone, Forrest. Speak volume to being content at what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even about being better than people or none of that, man. I think you get to a place where you're not trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be comfortable walking alone in certain spaces. Not everybody's going to be excited about it. Not everybody want to walk in that lane. And it's not that people are hating on what you're doing. You just have to be comfortable with the decisions you make. Not everybody's going to like your decision. And it doesn't mean anything about you, but it is a testament to how you want to get to where you want to go. How do you want to feel when you achieve what you achieve?
Yeah.
And if you don't achieve it, how do you still want to feel? And that's what really drives everybody's decisions. And some people will make some different compromises that they, once again, ethics is going to be different for everybody. Everybody has a different ethical compass. So what I may feel may not be the same for you. So it's a spectrum of how people see things ethically. So you just have to make that decision that's best for you, man, that you can sleep at night, live with. If you decide to start a family and have kids, you want to be okay to show your kids your journey. And things come out on social media. You got to be okay with what's out there. Yeah. So that's just how I look at it. I have 3 daughters, so I like them to see, they know the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I want them to know that the bad wasn't too crazy. It wasn't too crazy. But so I think that's just it's a personal journey for everybody.
That's good stuff, man. That's real talk for real, because people need to know that you find your niche and you stay in your lane, and it works out for you, because you find sometimes people are all over the place and they can't seem to find their niche. And so when you find it, there's no need of trying to impress. I tell people, I'm not trying to impress folk with what I do. I've made a mark. I'm good. I'm comfortable with where I am. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the fact of it is, you've accomplished quite a bit, man, and I'm very proud of you. I got to say it, because it's just good to see a Black man doing his thing, and of quality and integrity, and the fact that You don't compromise because of your upbringing, for one. Talk about the support system that you have that helps you on your journey.
When you have people that, as you grow, you have different types of friends. And, sometimes that term outgrowing people, it has such a negative connotation, but it really is not about being better than them. It just means that you're going places that they don't want to go. And that's okay. Just like if they go somewhere you don't want to go, then there's a crossroad where y'all meet still, but just not on certain levels. And I think as individuals, you have to be careful and be okay with the journey that you're taking. And so for me, having the structure of watching my mother and father, being married for 50 years and having the challenges that they've had working in ministry, but also seeing them overcome it and just staying a certain path and choosing not to take certain stands on things, that had the biggest impression on me, because a lot of times people talk, but it's a different thing when you see them do it. Yeah. And they don't know you paying attention. So for me, that was the biggest impact on my life. And I'm proud to say, for me, I grew up with both of my parents. I'm actually happy that I did. I don't have the story of that, but in doing that, that's something that I learned from them. And even though my life isn't exactly like theirs, I made some huge mistakes on my journey, but I still have that place to come back to. What does they say? If you teach a child in the way they should go, they'll never depart from it.
Right.
And that's the type of thing. It's like, as you start to grow and mature, you start to recognize, okay, I made some mistakes. Now I can't beat myself up. It's time to just keep going. And so you have people that you bring around you that help you make better decisions. And you start to separate from people that help you make the crazy decisions that you used to make with them. It's not them. Y'all used to do it together, but you got to start to separate yourself from them.
We used to do it together. I know that's right.
Together, man. That's right.
He's a leader, everybody. He's a speaker. He's a filmpreneur as well as a coach. His brand strategy he's a brand strategy expert. Forrest Tuff is his name. How can people reach out to you, man, through social media, man?
I'll tell you what, you can go to my website, forresttuff.com. That's Forrest with 2 R's, 2 T's, 2 F's, forresttuff.com. And from there, you can find any social media that I have. It'll take you to my email address, LinkedIn, X, any platform that I have. So that'll be the best way to find me.
Is there anything that I left out, Forrest, that you always desired to do, maybe in what you do now, or you said it earlier? I'm content now. So
I'm always trying to grow, man. I think for me, it's just I want to leave a legacy. I think that's the thing, and maybe later on we can talk about this. I had a life-altering situation that happened to me, and it really made me change my perspective on what I wanted to leave on this earth. So I kind of move with a different purpose. It's not just about the jobs and the money, even though that is part of the process and I don't negate it, but I'm about legacy. I'm like leaving something for my kids and maybe their kids to look up and go, man, that was my granddad. That was my uncle, man, he was really doing some positive things to give them something to grow on. So for me right now, I'm about legacy. And I think that's what drives everything that I do.
Hey, man, that's important, man, because you find that a lot of times people don't have a vision. The scripture talks about without a vision, people perish. So you got to have a vision. And then, of course, know that you want to leave something that people can remember you by and support you even further than that you could ever even imagine to go. So that's a good thing, man. Is your kids involved at all with any parts of your company?
Yeah, well, they're actually in school. One is graduating with a master's. She went into the entrepreneurship, emerging technology, and my other daughter is actually in the animation. She wants to do some stuff with Marvel, so they're in this world. She's producing films at her college, and I have a 11-year-old. She's finding her way, but so and listen, my oldest daughter actually plays collegiate basketball, so she's okay. She got somebody wanted to get into that too. So it's just interesting watching them grow and find their own path. But yeah, I think that artistic business side kind of stuck with them.
So you're living your dream through your youngest daughter then.
Hey man, listen, I try to let her do a thing. Well, look, after she got past my career, I said, listen, I give you everything you need, Grasshopper. I can't teach you no more.
Right.
But it's good going out there watching and shooting them threes, man. And Rodale, here's the thing. I didn't say this, and I don't like to talk about it too often, but man, when I played, even at Gordon State College, man, they had me listed up there on the Hall of Fame. I actually led the state in 3-pointers. This is before Steph Curry, before he was Steph Curry.
Really?
I was 11, 12 3-pointers in the game, man. I was doing stuff like that,
Okay.
And look, I got film too, Rodale. It's blurry, but I got it.
Look, that's all that matters. You got documents. As they say, I got receipts.
I got receipts, man. So yeah.
That's good.
It's good watching it.
Hey man, much success to you in the future as well. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Stay in your lane, of course. I know you ain't got to worry. I ain't got to worry about that. I already know you're gonna do that. So, we're proud of you. Keep up the good work, man. Until next time we chat. But I really appreciate you coming on today and talking real talk with Rodale, because that's what I like for people to share is your journey, and you've done that, and I appreciate it, man.
Hey man, thanks for having me, Rodale. It was a pleasure, man.